Fox poll shows us just how tight the race is in Georgia now. This is the way we frame it at CNN. We say there's no clear leader in a head-to-head matchup between Harris and Trump. But that is way different than the way it was when Biden was at the top of the ticket. We also see in this poll that it's effectively tied right now in Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina. One area that Donald Trump was leading in was, of course, the economy. That's what they want to focus on the Trump-Vance side today. They're going to two other critical swing states, Michigan and Wisconsin. Joining me now, Washington reporter for New York One, Kevin Frey, and congressional reporter for Politico, Ursula Perano. Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Kevin, let me start with you. I mean, basically, we're focused in on the Sun Belt because if Kamala Harris can make some of those states competitive, she's going to open up new paths to 270 electoral college votes, because the Biden path was very limited. It ran through the blue wall, Pennsylvania, that one electoral college vote in Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah. But if she can put Arizona on the map, if she can put Georgia potentially on the map, Nevada on the map, and I would say when I talk to sources, it's in that order that they think she potentially could. What do you see in your reporting in terms of how she has changed the race at the top of the ticket and what she needs to do if she actually wants to put those states in play?
Right. So, I mean, this is kind of the question of, can she relitigate in some of these states that basically Barack Obama did very well in 2008. And so the math that we've seen is that, quite frankly, because she's now atop the ticket, it has completely opened up this new potential avenue where she could maybe lose a blue wall state and still have electoral college votes to spare. And some of it comes down to, look, you're looking at some of these Sunbelt states where there's been a lot of net in-migration. There's been a lot of movement into the states, big growth in some of those major cities and the suburbs around them. And that opens up new opportunity. We saw it in Atlanta. We saw it in Georgia in 2020. And now the question that some are looking at, for example, North Carolina, could you look at some of those votes where they haven't gone for Barack Obama since 2008? The governor of that state last week told me on the convention floor that he's having that 2008 feeling. Now, that's obviously, positive spin. But
everybody wants to be having the 2008 feeling.
They do want to have the 2008 feeling. But certainly, there's definitely to use the word of the day, the vibe that is heading in that direction.
Ursula, what do you see here? I mean, let's put up black voters across the Sun Belt in this poll, because you can see that Trump is at 19% among black voters. This is again across. It's Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and North Carolina. 79% of black voters say they want to vote for Harris. 19% say for Trump. You can see it there. Smart strategists I've talked to say the over-under here for Trump is 20%. If he is getting 20% with black voters, it becomes very difficult to see how some of these states end up in play for Kamala Harris. 19 is just below that. She really does need to be doing a little better than she is there. Can they get there?
I mean, that's the difficulty of running a presidential race in literally 3 months, which is so unusual. Usually you have a year and a half, roughly, give or take, to play this out. And for her
unusual,
to tap into
you mean
this,
unprecedented?
Absolutely unprecedented, yes. And I think, she's got this momentum that she's obviously trying to pick up. And we're seeing that in this polling here. We're seeing this excitement where Democrats are saying they've got that 2008 feeling. I've been hearing that from congressional Democrats over the last few weeks. But whether it's going to be able to hold until November and whether she's going to be able to hold off Trump from trickling back in with those critical groups for Democrats, including black voters, is to be seen. I think things like the interview tonight are going to be a big test of whether she can hold her appeal and not lose this excitement that's become so signature to her bid right now. And additionally, whether she defines maybe some of her more policy positions. That could be another tap into some of those demographics that she's hoping to increase turnout. We haven't heard a lot of specifics from her on policy yet. Again, it's a short campaign. She's getting a lot in very quickly, but it'll be interesting to see if that comes out.
Yeah, Kevin, let's talk about the interview tonight, because this is a big high-stakes moment. In some ways made more high-stakes by the fact that they waited as long as they did to do it. It's going to be a joint sit-down. Republicans have been critical of her for that. But what does she need to do tonight, beyond just not make a mistake.
Right. I mean, you don't want a repeat of the Lester Holt interview that's now become so infamous from a few years ago. I think you're very much correct. She needs to make the sort of policy inroads that might appeal to those voters that she seems to be hemorrhaging on, where, for example, black voters. What can she say to them? Maybe add a little more meat to the bone when it comes to some of the policies she's already fleshed out without offending someone along the way. And quite frankly, I mean, look, you just want to allow the vibe, allow the excitement to continue without disrupting that. And I mean, she's on a good trajectory right now. She's had an amazing month in terms of making sure that the enthusiasm is there. You just don't want to kill it when it's coming along so well.
Right. Well, and Ursula, what role does the former president Donald Trump play here? Because we've obviously seen him struggle to stay on message in the way a lot of his supporters want him to. Karl Rove put it this way: Mr. Trump is in a better position now than he was at this point in 2016 and 2020, but Ms. Harris is stronger than Mrs. Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Mr. Biden were. The former president will have to up his game, and to this point, he's co-headlining a fundraiser. Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, is co-headlining a fundraiser for the former president because apparently he was prompted to bury the hatchet there. That does seem to be a move in the right direction, potentially, if you're the Trump campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we are seeing Trump get a little antsy on this summer. He has been rather quiet throughout the Biden weeks whenever Republicans were hoping to run against Biden. But now that Harris has become the nominee, we're seeing him pop off a little more on Truth Social. We're seeing him target her a little more directly. But at the end of the day, he is, and his advisors are trying to push him to be a little more disciplined, to not cause any chaos, when it could be a direct juxtaposition to this sort of stability that Harris is trying to offer, and this idea of we're not going back, we're going to be joyful, etc.
Yeah. All right. Kevin Frey, Ursula Perano, thank you very much for being here this morning. I really appreciate your time.